An autobiography is considered a genre of literature where the umbilical cord between the story and reality, the writer and the text, the signifier and the signified is yet intact. Kamala Das is one of the few Indian writers who could snip this cord with elan, explicating in the process that all writings are constructed and all identities staged in language. My story is not a literal translation of a Malayalam autobiography, Ente Katha, which was originally serialized in the Malayalam magazine Malayalanadu in 1972. And yet, the Ente Katha, the title Ente Katha, translates as My Story. Kamala Das later, famously or notoriously, denied Ente Katha to be a true story, stating that parts of it were fictitious. So, whose is the voice that narrates Ente or My Katha or story? By positing the self as a fictional construct, by problematizing it, Kamala Das actually poses a problem of identity, a problem linked to language of writing oneself in two languages, or numerous selves in one language, in the process attempting to parody and play with the notion of a fixed feminine essence and identity. By celebrating the fictionality of her autobiography, Das reiterates modern theories on the genre which stress the tautological nature of the autobiography, pointing out that the autobiographical self is actually a fictional construct within texts which can neither have its origins anterior to the text nor indeed coalesce with its creator. In the life story, unlike in an autobiography, the author or narrator presumes an interaction with an audience that shares her models of experience and codes of culture. Though Kamala Das arranges all the important rites of passage, charting the course of the evolution of the self, and narrates all the events according to a chronological and causal scheme in My Story, the Malayalam version Ente Katha displays a certain reluctance to the usual patterns of constructing the life story. It is more complex in its narration. The linear confessional mode of narrative in My Story links it to a modernist form of writing, while Ente Katha displays a postmodern preoccupation in its part non-linear narrative, relying on what appears to be a more disjointed memory. The preface to Ente Katha is titled A Sparrow's Sorrow. This is significantly enough absent in My Story, and it is in this introduction to her life that in the Malayalam version, Madhavikutty attempts to subtly negotiate the social contract in the act of writing one's story in the Kerala society of the early 70s. She writes in Ente Katha, I quote, "Though I loved my husband deeply, he was unable to love me. At the moment of sexual intercourse with him, I wished he would gather me in his arms after the act. Had he caressed my face or touched my belly, I would not have felt to that degree the intense rejection I felt after each sexual union. When a woman relinquishes the first man in her life in order to walk up to the bed of another, it is not a contemptuous or immoral act. It is an act of pathos. She is one who is humiliated, wounded. She needs to quench herself." Unquote. In subverting the conventions of a woman's autobiography, Kamala Das shows how a woman constructed in accordance with the rigid codes of expectations of femininity can yet deconstruct herself in order to reveal the constructedness of that construction.